Let's go, let's do this. Hello and welcome to a Solana Saga phone review. Cause that's something that's been on my list for a while. And today is the right day to do it. Finally. I feel like I didn't have enough perspective that I now have to actually be able to do a proper review. The TLDR for this is I am disappointed. But do I regret buying this phone? No, I don't. And the long story of this is probably a 20-minute video, so here we are. Obviously, I will try to be as unbiased as possible. That being said, there are some biases that I just have and cannot get rid of, like I am very involved in the Solana ecosystem, which is also the reason why I got this phone in the first place. I would not have gotten this phone if I wasn't so involved. But nobody is telling me to make this video. Solana Mobile isn't paying me to make this video. I am independent, I can do whatever and I can express my honest opinion here. And that's very important to me. However, that said, I might have a few biases when it comes to Solana. However, I'm not gonna shill this phone essentially, because it doesn't deserve it. Let's be honest, it's already hyped enough, I think. And I think now is a good time to do that review because they just announced chapter 2 and really I want to give feedback to the Solana Mobile team to do better in the next iteration. Because as I said, I am disappointed in this thing and yet I'm a Solana fanboy, thus I have a bunch of these. It started obviously with a DVT-1, so that's the developer unit. Same phone, same hardware, and I've been using this as a secondary phone for like 2 months or so until the Saga came out. And I did a review on this thing here in that very location when I first opened it. So I got the DVT-1 and I got the actual Saga. But I wouldn't be a fanboy if I wouldn't have bought another one. And so I did. This one. Number 3 in a row. I never used this, I kept it in the box. All I did with it was claim the Genesis token and attempted to mint one of the Solana Klenos twice, once with success. Yeah, that's all I did with that phone, otherwise that was just sitting in the package. And then, recently, on the day where people were saying, oh, it's gonna sell out soon, I might have ordered another one. I did order another one with a case because that's free. So I have the Saga in all the possible states, from the DVT-1 to the one that I've been using for almost a year as my main phone, to one that I unpacked but never used, to a completely unpacked one. Maybe I'm gonna do a giveaway with this one. Or maybe I'll sell it. You can make me an offer if you want. So you can see that I might be a bit over-invested into this phone. Thus, you could assume that I have a bias, and I just want you to be aware of that. But yeah, let's get started with the actual review of this freaking phone. Yeah, I've been using this as my daily driver for, well, since it came out until basically a month ago. When for Christmas I got myself a Pixel 8 Pro. So this is a flagship device of Google. I noticed that I was getting frustrated with my Saga and I was feeling too rich to not get another phone, so I got myself another phone. Long story short, I'm also not 100% happy with this one. Therefore, I could argue that I'm just not happy with anything. Therefore, I might go easier on this. But yeah, point is I've been using this for almost a year. So I feel like I am qualified to review this and, well, basically just give you my opinion, because that's what I do best. Where do we start? There are a few things, and I'm just gonna mention the key things, not like everything. Should we start with a few positive things? Like, you know, doing a nice sandwich? One thing that I really learned to enjoy about this phone is the fingerprint reader. That thing, you tap it and it opens. That is really good usability. Like, if I have my phone in my hand, my finger is here super quickly and it just opens the phone. That's just snappy. And also authorizing stuff with the fingerprint, it just works with a tap. You do beam and it's done. It's so, like, this works. In the beginning I was a bit skeptical because if I have the phone lying on the table, then I would need to lift it up to do that. It doesn't have the fingerprint reader here, but my Pixel Pro has the fingerprint reader here, and that thing really takes long and doesn't even freaking work all the time. It takes me usually 3 tries until it actually opens the phone, and that's just not good usability. And also it takes like half a second longer, which, you know, you notice the difference. It really is a difference. Whereas here, boom, it's there. Like that's notably different. So yeah, I am a fan of the actual fingerprint reader versus the having it in the screen. Even though in the beginning I was skeptical because the positioning here just seemed so convenient. But no, this is better. Now I can say this is definitely better. That's definitely one thing that I really enjoyed about this phone and that I'm missing with my Pixel. What else? Or maybe another thing I should probably say, I could use this as my daily driver because I was already used to Android. I've always had an Android phone since I have smartphones. I never had to, you know, switch from iOS to Android. That was never an issue for me. So that's why I also didn't have any issues with the setup, with how stuff is arranged, because that's pretty much the same among the phones. So that's just what I was used to. What else? Like screen, super snappy. Like the phone itself, like it's got a good processor. I never had the feeling that it's too slow or anything. Screen looks good. So I didn't really have anything to complain there. However, that being said, I'm not a gamer. I didn't use that phone to play any games or stuff, because I just don't do that. Max I do is scroll through Twitter or other social media platforms and like be like that's all I do. And for that a less performant phone would do as well, right? Yeah, I never had issues with like performance. Did we say enough positive things? Can I go to the things that annoy me? And maybe let's start with the case, because this is probably the easiest thing to improve for Solana Mobile in their next iteration. Just have a different case. Let me explain. The phone without the case feels like a really high quality, good, like a really nice build. You know, that stainless steel and that nice glass, even though now I have the cover on there, but like it's still, this feels like a high quality product. This feels good in the hand. It does feel very slippery. I said that in my previous review. So having a case is very good. Putting on the case, this is not slippery anymore. That's good. But in fact, that's almost a bit too sticky. Especially with a new case, it's very sticky. And after a while, that super stickiness, plasticky feeling goes away. But it still feels cheap. Very freaking cheap. If you hold that, I feel like I'm holding a piece of plastic, which I am, because that is plastic or whatever it is, but it doesn't feel like a high quality thing. It feels like cheap Chinese stuff. Now, why is that a problem? The issue is that if it feels cheap, I treat it as if it's cheap. And I noticed that because that thing became a lot dirtier than my phones usually become. Usually my phones are at the same hygiene standard as my laptops, where I do not touch them with dirty fingers because I don't want them to be dirty. I hate it if my keyboard is like sticky or something, no. But with that phone, since the case really takes like any kind of stickiness or grossness, it immediately absorbs it into the case or onto the case, right? If you have even slightly fatty or sticky fingers, it stays on the case, which means that the case quickly becomes unclean, quite sticky, or not sticky, but like, you know, as if when you touch your hair and then your fingers get like greasy or whatever. And since it becomes like that, I'm also not taking care of it anymore, and I keep touching it with dirty fingers and operating my phone while I eat, and then with food fingers touch my phone because it doesn't matter anyway. So that phone subconsciously got a lower classification than my other technical equipment, so it's usually more dirty. And subconsciously I was also treating it way worse. I was throwing this around way more. I was like, that's a cheap thing. I throw it like, you know, whatever. And then it's on the floor. Right? It felt like a whatever operation device, and I wasn't treasuring it like my phone, you know? It's just and if it breaks, I'll have 3 other ones anyway. I was treating it way worse. And I contribute that mainly to the casing. And the very simple solution to this would be to just get a nicer feeling case, which for a Pixel you can do because it's mainstream enough and there are other cases available. For this one, yes, the dimensions are open source, but are there any cases being sold from other vendors? I haven't seen any. Must admit, I also didn't really look, but so my pointer is, for chapter 2, please have a casing that somehow feels nice. Then I don't treat it as shit. It's actually a nice device. It's just, I treat it like a freaking throwaway thing. Man, I was starting to make this video when there was rain, but whatever. So okay, we have sunlight. Okay, fine. While we're talking about the casing, the screen protector also leaves a tiny edge here, which is not ideal, but never had an issue with that. That's actually whatever. Enough of the rant about the casing. I think I make that a bigger deal than it actually is. But it is important that I feel like my phone is a nice device. And I haven't felt that with this one. Mainly for another reason. But the casing definitely didn't help. Let's go to another point. Let's do some of the minor issues that I have with it. That are all minor inconveniences, but like nothing that really stopped me from using the phone. One of them, audio. Like, yes, it's definitely not a priority that my phone plays music in high quality. So just a quick comparison again. This is the Saga, max volume. I mean, you hear it, but it's from a small device. Which this phone is, that's fine. It's fine, it's a phone, it's not a speaker. But it just doesn't sound like anything. It doesn't. Now, compare with my other phone. Solana tutorial. It is such a big difference, it's freaking crazy. Not sure if you hear anything of that, but like even in the very beginning, listen to that. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another Solana tutorial. There's some bass on that. There's like low frequencies. But you know, I didn't buy my phone to have it as a speaker. I just realized that since I have this phone, I listen to music sometimes just with my phone when I go take a shower or whatever. Whereas with my Saga, I always wanted to have an external speaker because this thing alone just, you know, doesn't satisfy me. And that's a minor thing. Most of the people have their earplugs anyway. It's fine. But that's definitely something I noticed. Another minor thing, which annoyed me a bit until I just decided, okay, it is as it is that even though it says, the specification says that it supports wireless charging, I never got my phone to do that. It just did not manage. I got myself such a thing to put it on to charge, but it just doesn't. Can I showcase this? Let's see. Put it on there. Nothing. Okay, maybe it's the case. Put it on there with no case. Nothing. Maybe it's not working at all. Oh, but this thing is loading. Here. Charges. Even with that fat case, no problem. Just charges. Charges slowly, but charges. Why does the Saga not do anything? And then if I hold it just right somewhere, somehow, I don't even know where or how, hold on. Oh, there, I added, did you see that? For a second, it pretended that it was loading, but it isn't really. And that's the same with different charging stations. So it's not the charging station that's the problem. I tried out different ones when I was at a friend's place, put it there, same thing. It lit up for a bit, then did nothing. Then lit up for a bit, so it had this kind of flashy thing, but didn't really charge. And now I can't even get it to even start. So yeah, that thing just doesn't work. Which You know, it's not the worst. I just plug it in every night, which gets me to the next thing. I need to charge it every night because it won't last more than a day, the battery. That's also fine. I can charge it every night. But if I'm out there traveling and I need the phone a lot, like with Google Maps and whatever, then it doesn't even last me a day, and that sometimes got frustrating. Were not many days where I needed more, but then without an external power source, when you're out there, you're kind of lost, and that was a bit annoying. So I wish the battery was a bit stronger, but also got used to that and wasn't really that much of an issue. I was thinking, just if I always have to plug it in, the first thing at any phone that I break is the USB-C port, because the constant plugging in, plugging out, plugging in, plugging out, it just wears that thing out and then it doesn't properly charge anymore. That was the case with my previous phone. That was the reason why I had to get rid of it, because it just wouldn't properly load anymore, and then I had to be like very precise and then, oh yeah, it's loading now. So if I wouldn't have to plug it in, that would be nice, but I got used to just doing that. Okay, so that was just another minor thing. Another thing that I kept struggling with, actually, that I didn't have with any of my other phones, is that it turned itself on in my pocket. Like if I had it in my pocket like this, and then the touch from the pocket, for instance, when I'm dancing, right? It just, weirdly, if I touch it like this, it doesn't do anything. Whereas my Pixel, if I touch it, it opens, right? It says hello, and I can change stuff here. But weirdly, with this one, even though it does that, I don't have as much of an issue as with my Saga, that it suddenly, don't ask me why, at some point it then turns on, and then it messed around with those settings here. So sometimes it would turn my flashlight on, and then after dancing people would tell me, hey, your flash is on, and I'm like, what? Or it would go into airplane mode or whatever. So I had to rearrange those things to be less critical things, because it would just keep touching them in my pants without me actually wanting to do anything here. That's just a weird thing that I noticed. Yeah, apparently also my pocket opens it. It recognizes pocket touch as my fingers, and I didn't have that issue with my other phones, so that was a bit weird. But also, if you know it, you can get used to it, and then you know that you're not supposed to put it in your pocket for dancing, or that you just turn it off or whatever. Got a bit frustrated that there's no quick NFC disable, but yeah, that's more of a application level kind of stuff. I would like to have it up here in the buttons, but that's just Android that doesn't allow me that. And one other thing that I realized that got me frustrated, especially in the beginning when I started using this phone as my main one, the mics are not as good, or don't have as good of a noise reduction as other phones. Or let's say as my previous phone, which was a OnePlus 7. So when recording voice messages in the tram or in the underground, people would hear me less clearly than on my previous phone, which was 4 years old. So upgrading to a Saga and having worse audio quality is like, why? So yeah, that was another thing that low-key annoyed me. But it was good enough that it works. I just had to be aware of that and be like more clear. I hold it even closer to my freaking face that I can record voice messages. So that was okay. Also the other way around, even the speaker, this at some point, it was not loud enough. Like if I'm in the underground or in the tram and it's loud around and I want to listen to voice messages, I couldn't hear it, even though it was on full volume, but I couldn't hear it. I had to put it full volume and hold that thing to my ear, the main speaker, such that I hear it. And even then I had a hard time. So yeah, the whole audio thing, not ideal with that phone. I struggled a lot more. But all of that I kind of got used to. So let's get to the main issue that I had with this phone. And the thing that I didn't get used to, which is why I had to upgrade my phone. And that is the camera. When I got the DVT-1, they told us, yeah, so the camera isn't fully calibrated yet, image quality is gonna improve. And I was like, yeah, sure, image quality gonna improve, let's buy 3 of those phones. No, actually I bought 2 of those phones, the third one I bought for FOMO reasons. And granted, picture quality did increase, however, by far not to the extent that I would have hoped. So I don't think that the camera module is bad. I think it's more of a software issue. That it just isn't as user-friendly and neatly calibrated as other phones. I mean, it does take good pictures. Let's open them camera apps. Look at that. I mean, the colors are a bit different, but like it looks good. I can't even tell you which one I prefer. This one is probably a more accurate representation actually. But this one is the nicer picture for like picture's sake. So in well-lit conditions, the Saga camera is okay. The Saga camera is great. And also like in the sunlight taking pictures, no problem. Problem comes in with low light. Let's see if I can get low light. Still too good. Actually the lighting is better like this. I should leave it down. But that's because the sun is like smashing. If I want to take a picture somewhere at night, then the Saga is just lost. Or also in like low lit conditions. If I just have this sort of a light to illuminate my room, I see stuff. My Pixel can take pictures, but the Saga can't. And that's mainly, I think, a software issue, because it doesn't properly do HDR, it doesn't do like long exposures, and it's just annoying if I want to take a selfie and then my face is pretty much black. That's not cool. If I want to have a nice picture as a memory for a nice evening, then I can't properly do that with my Saga. And that was the point where I got really frustrated, where I was like, no, I need a proper camera on my phone. And here we are at the point where I have to say, this is a user thing. This is me who basically needs a camera with internet and not a phone. Because let's be honest, I had a look at this. I do take on average 20 to 30 pictures per day and maybe 1 or 2 videos. But that's just because I am me and I like to take pictures and videos. That's just the person I am. I want this. This is one of the main use cases for my phone. Way more so than actual phone calls. I have a phone call at max once a week with my mom. And that's about it. I don't do any phone calls. Let's check my phone history. Yeah, my mom on Friday, which was 6 days ago. And before that with a company. And I don't have many phone calls. Like, I would be perfectly happy having a phone that does not support text messages or phone calls as long as it has internet and a good camera. Because with internet I can do my voice messages and I can do like audio and video calls via the internet. So I don't need that phone stuff. But again, that's me as a user who has very specific needs. And one of them is a camera. And since the Saga doesn't satisfy my camera requirements, I had to get another phone, which, fun fact, also doesn't satisfy my camera requirements, because even though it takes great pictures in all sorts of lighting conditions, it might take too great of pictures because I can literally not turn off the effect that it blurs my background. So if I take a selfie with me here and a bunch of people here, then the bunch of people are blurry. And that's just so stupid. And I cannot get that phone to take proper pictures. Essentially, I cannot take selfies with this anymore. I can't take a selfie with something in the background because everything in the background will be highly blurred. I need to take that picture, and then manually put them together or something. So I'm also not happy with this, which is the entire point of perspective. Apparently, I'm never happy, so I shouldn't go too hard on my Saga, because I guess it's always trade-offs. And I mean, yeah, it's a phone of trade-offs. You can't do everything. Therefore, they really put effort into the seed vault, which is another thing we have not discussed yet. The Saga seed vault, which is probably the thing to get the Saga, which essentially makes this just a very expensive hardware wallet. If you just use it as a hardware wallet and not carry it around with you as your phone, then I would argue that it's not much worse than a ledger. More expensive, yeah, but I guess similar. And don't quote me on this because I don't actually know how the hardware things are different between like proper hardware wallets and this secure enclave thingy. But yeah, the seed vault works and it's nice. My argument here is just I don't actually need it. Like, I have not had a single use case where I'm like, oh, I'm glad that this wallet is protected by my seed vault. Because all the wallets that I have on here is either like cheap stuff, like where I have $100 or $200 on there to quickly buy some stuff at Breakpoint, or my drip account. Check that. I click verify wallet. I open in Phantom. Then I have to do my first fingerprint, which is quickly done. And then I approve this, then it gets me to the seed vault. So I need to sign with the seed vault. And then I say, yes, I signed with my seed vault. And then sometimes I need to put in passcode for my seed vault. Then I do that and then it's done. So that's a lot of steps just for getting access to my drip with a wallet that has 0 funds on it. So I don't really need it to be protected by the seed vault. I could just have any kind of wallet that I keep in Phantom. It's not that much value in there that I really say I need to have it protected by the seed vault. That's why the main argument for having a Saga, the seed vault, is not really applicable here. Because like the more valuable stuff I'll put on a ledger anyway. My important NFTs and all my higher values. And we're not at that point where I do want a wallet with several $1,000s in my pocket all the time. I don't need that. And if I need that, I can carry the ledger around with me. But I don't. I never so far regret not having the seed vault with me. Like, I just don't. However, coming back to some positive news, I thought that with my Pixel, the mobile connect, like the mobile wallet adapter, will just work, but it doesn't. It works better on the Saga than it does on other Android devices. It's just super unreliable on other ones, to the point where it sometimes just doesn't work. So yeah, for actual Web3 stuff, the Saga, I can recommend it. Also with the Solana Dapp Store, that's just a convenient thing to have, right? You can just download all of those apps if you want. The ones that I use, like some of the wallets, are available in the normal Play Store anyway. So far I haven't missed it. One last point, some stuff just really feels a bit, just not as reliable as I would have hoped, right? I start the camera app and it doesn't open the camera. I'm like, come on, I want to take a picture, please. Let me open the camera. And most of the time it does. Most of the time it all works great, but then sometimes it doesn't, or it takes a second to start. And when I quickly want to take a picture of something that is only there, like a passing car that has a nice boilerplate or whatever thing, those seconds are critical and it's highly frustrating if I can't take it out, start it and take a quick picture. If that tak and camera is starting doesn't work. It takes too long, whereas that, boom, is here. That, boom, takes a bit. It's those little things that add up to me having a bad impression of that phone. I mean that sometimes the seed vault just freezes and I need to restart the phone to use the seed vault. Okay, I got used to that. But my camera, I'm just so picky with my camera. I think that's, again, a user thing and that's just me. But I want that to open quickly and reliably. And it doesn't. I mean, probably 98% of the time it does, but it's the 2% that I'm missing. So yeah, overall, it's an okay device. I can totally see how some people want to buy that. And especially with all the rewards that I didn't even go into. And I won't. Because that's not what makes up this phone. That makes it a gamble, essentially. I mean, I could have gotten this phone for free if I sold the bonk that I could have gotten as an airdrop, but for tax reasons, didn't claim. Anyway, I can see how you might want to have this phone. And it's funny that I make this video now that you can't get it anymore. Is that teasing? Maybe. I mean, if you want, I sell you this. There's the second one though. There's the Gen 2 Saga or Chapter 2, whatever. That we have no idea what it's gonna be. Probably gonna be cheaper than this. I hope it has a good camera. Maybe it's just a camera with a seed vault. That would be my ideal product. Build me a good camera with a seed vault. I'll buy it. So Solana Mobile, I hope this review was helpful for you. You as a user, whether or not you're using a Saga as a primary or as a secondary device, do you agree with me? Am I missing some stuff? What's your experience with this phone if you have it? Yeah. So the good thing is you can't even buy that anymore, so I can't even tell you whether or not you should buy it. And I don't know anything about Chapter 2, so I can't say anything there either. I didn't pre-order yet. I might. I'm not sure. I mean, it's just $450, but like 40k people already pre-ordered. It's like, what? Or at least there are 40k pre-orders. There are only 20,000 of this phone. Anything else that I need to say? I'm happy that I got this phone. It's a good phone. And if the camera was a bit better in low light and a bit more reliable, then I would have kept it as my primary for probably at least another year until the next Saga comes out. But it just isn't. So for me, it was not the right phone to keep using it. I just noticed that I'm unhappy with it and that I constantly am like, ah. And really, I was just using it because I'm such a Solana fanboy. I wanted to have the Solana phone, but there is no good other reason for me to use this. Except for I have 3 of them and I might as well use one. But no, I'm not much more happy with my new phone. It's a few things that are better with this one. Yes, it does wireless charging, it has a better speaker, and it has a proper camera that is actually calibrated and it has good software. But I'm also not 100% happy with that. So, chapter 2, you have a chance. Build me a good camera. Because that's what I want. Anyway, I'm debating whether or not I should put a referral link to the chapter 2 stuff in the description. Because I'm like, if I do that, then you think I just made that video for you to buy that thing, for me to get that referral points or whatever. I don't even know what you get when I refer you, but I don't want you to have that impression. So don't worry, you definitely don't need to pre-order that. I mean, do what you want. I mean, I have no idea what that even is. I can't even tell you what that's about because I don't know. I just know about this one and I'm like not even that big of a fan. So I would not recommend that to my family. Like there is no reason to get this phone whatsoever for anyone except Solana fanboys like me. And even they might get frustrated with it because the camera is not good enough. But for people who don't need a good camera because they don't take so many pictures, it's a good phone. That's what I'll end with. It's a good phone, good enough to have 4 versions of it. Okay, that's me. I made this video because I finally wanted to speak from the heart my honest opinion about the Saga. And yeah, now that I did that, it's done. And then I'll see you in one of my properly scheduled developer tutorials again. Because I certainly have enough of these. Why did I buy 5 phones last year? Because I'm crazy, that's why.